We are living through a major platform shift with AI, as you all know. But every time there's a major platform shift, how people buy changes. And I want to give you a concrete example. So let's go back to Cursor for a moment. So, bear with me on the hypothetical. Let's assume that you all love the AMA app on Thursday. It's a huge hit. We're going to turn it into a startup. We're deploying it on the public internet. And so we want to build some more functionality. And we're going to, in particular, we're going to build on top of Vercel. And we've been seeing a lot of load, so we're going to build in their bot protection functionality. And the reason I want this kind of specific hypothetical, because Cursor knows how to do everything in the coding realm, but now we need to go do something in the real world. We're going to buy a service, and we need this functionality. And so normally from here, yeah, we built it, but we need to go break our flow, we need to go to the Vercel website, go do that whole setup, get our credentials, come back to the IDE here. But this is where we think things are changing. And so we can actually have, if we call Cursor's MCP here, we can just describe the functionality that we want. So we'll ask for that upgrade here. So we're just describing in natural language what we want to add to Cursor, and we submit that. And it's going off, and it's finding out what functionality it is, how it works, it's giving us the link. And so now, if we click this link, you see, we're coming to the completed Stripe checkout page already with the link has our credentials, so we'll hit subscribe there. And that's it. We come back to Cursor, and we can, in fact, just turn on the functionality now. It's been enabled. And that's it. That was the entire transaction. And so what you saw here was we needed some extra functionality in Vercel, and we just did the entire thing in Cursor. This is a totally new modality for commerce. In 30 years, when your grandkids ask where you were when agentic commerce took off, you can tell them you were right here at Stripe Sessions. And the term you're going to start hearing way more of is MCP, so just remember that. A simple way to allow models to engage in tool use in the wider world, including making complex purchases on your behalf. And there's tons of applications for this just broadly, but what you've just seen here, one tool directly making a financial transaction with another tool, that's going to create buying opportunities and patterns for growth for all sorts of companies. You've probably seen that you can now purchase directly within ChatGPT. Soon, every AI tool might become a sales channel for you. Previous internet commerce experiences, they were all built around the web and the web browser. But as we spend a rapidly growing share of our time in AI tools, it's likely that commerce gets rewired to natively work with this new modality. So, you can see why it's a busy time in the internet economy. It's certainly the busiest that we have felt in quite a few years at Stripe. It's a really fast-changing environment. And that's why you're all here at this moment to discuss the future of commerce over the next few days. And like Patrick mentioned, what better place to do it than San Francisco? From the gold rush to Waymos, for almost 2 centuries now, people have been coming to San Francisco in search of the future. And not every vision for the future pans out. There's a Clippy for every Copilot. There's a Juicero for every Tesla. But innovation depends on people being willing to take big swings and bold ideas. In fact, I have to call out another great Stripe press book here. This one is called Boom, and it argues that bubbles, they have very positive long-term effects. The hype and frenzy is actually a pro-social force in gathering people and capital around technologies that then create quite long-lived benefits. And for us, the energy fizzing around AI and stablecoins right now is pretty clearly going to drive rapid progress in both of those. Each individually will bring enormous change to the internet economy, and both together look set to transform commerce. Our intent is to pull that future forward for all of you building on Stripe, and you'll hear a lot more about this over the coming days. And speaking of which, it's time to welcome our next and final guest for today onto the stage. This person has already invented the future more than once. He runs 3 of the 4 most downloaded apps in history, and is now building the future again with AR and AI. Please welcome Mark Zuckerberg.
doing the live demo thing.
Yeah, I know. And obviously, live demos are so much worse when they're AI based because you just get a different thing every time. It's like
it adds an element to fun.
Exactly, it just gets you really live.
Yeah.
So this is the last public speaking appearance you did was Theo Van. He actually took a lot of the questions that I wanted to ask. But
same kind of vibe.
Exactly, yeah. Here, expect questions. So we obviously just talked a whole bunch about AI. You are, I mean, arguably just the largest AI company, right? You are the largest buyer of GPUs in the US outside of a cloud hyperscaler, from my deep research. How has your thinking on AI just evolved over the past year? You haven't been moving slowly.
Yeah, I mean, I think the high level is it's on track.
How so?
Well, I mean, I think one of the big questions is, I think it's like, I think most people at this point view that AI is going to transform pretty much every category of product and every part of the economy and all that. The big question is, to what extent are we in a bubble versus to what extent, is this going to be a big thing soon? And I mean, I think one of the, I mean, you were just talking about this, I think, right before I came out. It's, even if it is a bubble and it takes a bit longer to build out, that's not necessarily the end of the world, although it will be expensive.
For certain people.
Well, yeah, you're spending $65 to $70 billion in capex a year. You'd like it to come when you think it's going to come, but but I think the main question is sort of, is this going to be a kind of 5 to 10 year thing? And in some ways, it probably will to get built into every enterprise workflow and things like that. But I don't know. I mean, the more time that, the more that we work on this, it actually seems like all the things that we think are going to happen sooner, and being even more ambitious has been more predictive over the last few years about where things are likely going to be in the industry. So I mean, like, we keep on, building, setting goals for our teams. Meta AI is like right about 1 billion people monthly active using it across our apps. We keep on setting these goals for, what do we think is going to be the most used AI? What do we need to do? And we keep on passing them, and then like others in the industry keep on passing their goals too. And they're like, we should have had even higher goals. And how much AI is accelerating all of the business agent stuff that we're doing and advertising and changing that. It's like, it's all just happening very.
Do you want to describe the business agent stuff briefly for people who aren't familiar? Maybe everyone's familiar.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's two basic versions of this, and I think this is probably good context for folks who have. I mean, one is just the transformation of the ad system, right? Where, it used to basically be, if you wanted to run ads, you had to like come up with your own creative, and you had to come up with who you wanted to reach. You had to kind of have a sense of who your customers were, and do a lot of your own measurement. And over time, we've just like automated more and more of this stuff. So the basic end goal here is any business can come to us, say what their objective is. I want to get new customers to do this thing. I want to sell these things. Tell us how much they're willing to pay to achieve those results, connect their bank account, and then we just deliver as many results as we can. And in a way, I mean, it's kind of like the ultimate business results machine. It's probably, I think, going to be one of the most important and valuable AI systems and kind of business systems that gets built. Now, I mean, obviously there's a whole ecosystem around this stuff. No one company is going to do everything in advertising. There are all these companies that specialize in doing creative work, and they'll keep on doing that. And but it will be possible in the future that if you're running a small business, or maybe even a larger one, you won't even need to have to start off with a creative. Maybe you can, maybe you'll get better results, but you could just come with a goal and how much that's worth to you, and we'll just kind of deliver results across our platform. So I think that's cool, and I think is going to pretty dramatically change what advertising is. Historically, advertising has been about 1% of global GDP, but that includes all the stuff that's really inefficient. Like you buy a billboard, and like 3/4 of the people who see the billboard are not target customers. So when you actually can change it so it turns into this like AI business results machine, I think that just like the overall internet economy is going to grow, I would guess that what we currently think of advertising will sort of grow as a field and will be a larger portion of global GDP. It's interesting. I mean, a lot of innovative companies are experimenting with different kinds of automation with our platforms, and that's kind of a fun thing that we can get into. The other part of what we're doing on business agents is this notion that, just like every business today has an email address and and a website and a social media presence, in the future, every business is going to have an AI agent that lives in the different messaging platforms that their customers can do customer support and sales through. And there's sort of this wild precedent that we've seen so far in a couple of countries where, like Thailand and Vietnam are kind of these interesting cases for us, where there's relatively low cost of human labor, and because of that, a lot of the economy is sort of developed around messaging. And basically, like a large number of businesses out there can afford to have people who just do manual customer support and sales through messaging. And it's at the point where, even though Thailand and Vietnam are like ranked in the top, I think they're in the 30s by global GDP, they're actually Meta's number 10 and 11 revenue countries. And it's just because so much commerce in those places goes through the messaging platforms already. But that hasn't really come to a lot of developed countries yet for a number of reasons, including the kind of cost of labor. But I think when you get to the point where every business just has a business agent that is an AI agent that can do customer support and sales, I think that's just going to turbocharge. And most of our business today, it's Facebook and Instagram and ads in there. WhatsApp really, from a revenue perspective at least, is sort of just getting started. And I think that's kind of going to be the next pillar of the business.
So sorry, that's quite interesting. Basically, you're saying that when cost of labor is not an issue, you see people have much more messaging-based business experiences, kind of UIs at some level for how you do things. And the reason that we don't see as much of it in the US is just it's too expensive to have someone at your hair salon just responding to messages all day. And that's one of your predictions for how it seems like people actually want to interact with.
Yeah, totally. I think that there is some path determinism here, and I think that the whole messaging ecosystem developed differently in some of these places where the cost of human labor was lower. But overall, I think people are going to contact more businesses for more things when they get very high quality, low latency, personalized responses. And now, of course, in the kind of modern web, you'll be able to have a business agent that is a chatbot on your website too. So, how much of that is happening through messaging services versus apps, or having this just embedded everywhere, I'm not sure. But overall, we do see, across our platforms, just a business messaging is growing very quickly. It's about $10 billion of revenue now, continues to grow quickly. And yeah, I think that this is probably going to be the next kind of new pillar of our business and the stuff that we're doing.
And then the first point you made, it sounds like you're basically saying that execution friction just gets in the way of a lot of things. Like, maybe there'd be more confetti animations in the world if it was just a single line to get them to happen. And similarly, you think that many businesses would actually go out and do more. It's not that they're not economically willing to pay $20 to get an acquired user or something like that. It's just all the steps that go into the data analytics and the creative and everything like that mean that they don't actually get the right outcome for their businesses. And so less friction in execution.
Well, that, and also, I think we've just reached a point where the AI is more effective at a lot of things that different businesses do. So it's like, okay, if you're starting a company, there's normally like some core idea or something that you're trying to do, and then there's like all these other things that you need to do to make the company work. And like, okay, if you want to reach customers, you've had to, like basically go find ways to do marketing, and then you want to make sure your marketing works well, so you need to like find ways to measure your marketing and all this. And I do think a bunch of that stuff, we're just getting to the point where the AI can do it better than sort of the average people who are doing that, which makes it so that more companies can get started more easily. This is also a big theme for Stripe, right? It's like, okay, companies also needed to spend all this time doing all this different stuff with financial services and payments, and now they don't have to. So I think what that allows is just way more people in the world to focus on what their core idea is, and kind of execute that, and have a core talent-dense team of people who are like focused on that idea. And more of the stuff that's like not the core part of building your company is going to be able to be offloaded. So, in the future, if you were working with a creative agency to make creative, you'll probably keep doing that. If you aren't, then you know, and you're just kind of hacking something together and throwing it into Meta's ad system. Well, now we're going to be able to come up with like 4,000 different versions of your creative and just test them and figure out which one works best. You know, it used to be that on the targeting side, like the way that our business kind of got started on the ad side was because people put all this profile information into Facebook early on. It used to be like a great place for a business to say, okay, I think my product is like, I think like women between like, you know, 18 and 28 in this city are really gonna love this thing, and like Facebook early on, it was like the best place to go reach them because, okay, we kind of knew who people were and had all this, people had input all this demographic information. At this point, we basically encourage advertisers not to restrict what the AI can do. Like we're like, all right, look, if you think that like women in kind of this age range are going to be more receptive, then yeah, give us that hint as kind of an input to the system. But you know, unless you really have a reason why you don't want to sell to other people, don't constrain who we're going to reach to just that, because the AI is actually probably going to be able to find who is going to be interested in your product better than you can. And that just means that, okay, you just focus on building the best product. More stuff that's awesome is going to happen in the world.
The Hello Kitty effect. Last question on AI maybe.
I'm not familiar with that.
So, just on AI and market structure, obviously you guys are so interested here because unlike a lot of the pure play AI companies, you are off doing a lot of production AI, and then also decided to get into the AI business. And also, you know, Llama, one of your big bets is open source. I guess you're also wearing the. What are your Meta Ray-Bans saying to you about me right now? Like, what are they?
Nothing. They're off. I left my phone backstage. Their Bluetooth connection is severed.
I'm picturing like a Terminator-style UI.
Well, look, you know, I'm like famously awkward. I need some input as I'm, as we're doing these, so I can make sure I don't say anything stupid.
Yeah, John, not Patrick. No, okay, sorry. Anyway, you guys have been on AI. I guess I'm just curious for your thoughts on market structure, because it's a super fast evolving. Like, it feels to me like the first time since I moved to the Valley that we've been in a tech race. You read about the development of the computing industry in the 1980s, and there's a new leader every 6 months. And we didn't have a good tech race for a while, and now we do, where there's constantly evolving leaders, and it's just not clear even where the value capture happens. And so I'm curious how you see the chessboard.
Well, I mean, I think this is going to transform every category. So I think people are like, oh, is it going to be primarily a consumer thing, or is it going to be primarily an enterprise thing? It's going to be everything. So it's kind of like at the internet, it's like, what is the point of the internet? Is it going to be consumer or enterprise? It's like, there are going to be a lot of opportunities, right? So I think we were kind of in this zone early on where, you know, people were competing to build the kind of best general model. And my guess is that stuff is just going to start specializing a little bit. There's obviously, I mean, intelligence by its nature is general, so you're not going to be able to just build something that is focused on kind of one area and only go deep in that and not be good at other things. But I do think it'll be the case that the products and ecosystems and the areas of research that different companies emphasize will be focused on different areas. And you know, we're doing some of the business stuff we just talked about. We're also on the consumer side very focused on like personal AI, right? More than kind of productivity. So, you know, what is that? It's going to be probably more conversational, probably index a little bit more towards voice, be more personalized. You know, I think people are going to want a system that gets to know them well and that kind of understands them in the way that their feed algorithms do, and honestly that they don't have to like, you know, ramp up from scratch because it's already connected to some of that stuff. And like as you walk through the world and you have your glasses, like you can, you know, it's like glasses are kind of the perfect form factor for AI because you can let an AI see what you see and hear what you hear and talk to you throughout the day, and it should all just kind of get to know you, right? It shouldn't be like every time you do a query, it's like, you know, you're just kind of starting from scratch and you need to provide all the details. So that's going to be kind of our game on the consumer side, and that's a little bit different from, you know, a company like, you know, Anthropic or Cursor, who, you know, Claude can do a lot of stuff, but like they're really focused on coding and coding agents, and like that's going to be a massive part of the economy, right? Where there's like all these knowledge workers and engineers, and they'll all be turbocharged by now having more, every engineer is going to be a tech lead that has like effectively an army that is working for them.
It is striking to me what an overhang there is of personalization in AI, the ability to improve products. Like, it's kind of funny to me that Siri cannot understand my voice to save its life. And it's kind of funny, right? Because it's a general language recognition model, but you have so much of my voice to go off. Like, your job is not to recognize any voice under the sun, it's just to recognize my voice. Similarly, it'd be trivial to have personalized handwriting recognition models, but we don't have those yet. And so it's just interesting to me how little personalization there is compared to how much we'll obviously have in 5 years' time.
No, I mean, I think it's very little right now. I think we're just starting to scratch the surface with some of these products on like, okay, they learn from what you've talked about in the past and what you've told them in that model. But I think it's pretty clear that you're going to want to connect more and more things to your AI. So from our world, it's going to be starting with the other meta services, messaging, glasses, like all that, as well as just be able to infer and kind of remember the key things from all the conversations that you've had over time.
No, it's going to be really good. I'm very excited for the Stripe sessions in 5 years' time and what we're...
It's going to be, it's going to be wild.
It's going to be a wild time. Does it feel like a wild time to you? Like, again, it feels...
Oh yeah, it's the craziest.
But like, it's very
amazing.
different. Yeah, it's very different to 3 years ago. Things were just quieter 3 years ago. Maybe not for you.
Well, I think it was starting 3 years ago. It's ramping. It's ramping. I don't know. I think it's the most exciting time, but it's like, no, it's really good. I think it's just but I do think that everyone needs to kind of rethink a lot of the different ways that the products work, and over time, I think that there are going to be a lot of opportunities for just building companies in different ways too. Like, there's the version of this where like everyone at your company just gets a ton more leverage, and that's the version that I'm kind of excited about. People are, I think, very fixated on this notion of AI is going to be able to like replace people's jobs.
It's the wrong mental model. Yeah.
I mean, I guess if we get into like some kind of really deep recession and the order of the day is like everything needs to be more efficient, I guess AI can be used to make things more efficient. But I mean, across what we do, there are all these places where there's stuff that just like wasn't cost effective to do before. Like provide voice customer support for everyone who uses Meta. It's like, all right, there's billions of people using, it's like that would cost so much, right, to do. It's like we would cost us so much, and we don't charge for our product. So our business model doesn't quite support that. But okay, maybe now if you could have a voice AI that can answer 90% of people's questions, maybe now it makes sense to go hire the people to go answer the other 10% of questions that the AI can't, because you can kind of, again, you're just getting this like 10x leverage, and it's just super, super powerful.
This is where someone whispers Jeffrey's paradox from off stage.
Yeah.
But okay, as we live through this very fast changing landscape, you are positioning Meta for it. And one thing as I was preparing for this that I was observing is it feels like you are early to a lot of tech trends. So here's my argument for this. You built your own chat app when you were 11 before AIM took off. This was in 1990.
Yeah, gotta connect my dad's different offices in his dental office. I built him Zup now.
Yeah, so the computers at your dad's dentist's office. The Oculus
had to convince him to give me a computer. It's like,
okay, so it's a good
the business model of a kid is like do useful things for your parents in order to get a computer.
It's always been about business messaging. You acquired Oculus 11 years ago. Like, AR was not a cool thing 11 years ago. I don't know, is it fair to say that FAIR, the AI lab, was kind of one of the earliest big things you guys did in AI, but that was 2013, again, before the entire current trend. I want to get to Libra later on, the thing people are obviously most excited to hear about.
But that thing's dead. The good news is you have reincarnated the idea with Bridge into something that is going to do much better, because now there's actually a company that is fully focused on this that's going to absolutely nail the opportunity globally.
We are seeing a lot of stablecoin growth as we show the chart. But I guess, is this part of your self-identity, being early to tech trends, and this is how Meta stays ahead, and this is kind of how you have been good at what it is that you do?
I mean, well, it's certainly more fun when you're early than you're late, but I mean, there's plenty of things that I'm late to and have to kind of claw our way back into the game, which I think we're pretty good at that too. But I don't know, well, what were we late to? I mean, like Reels. Right, TikTok got to be pretty big before we're like, okay, we need to go win.
Reels is pretty big. Seems like people are watching Reels. You did fine on Reels.
We're doing okay. We're doing okay. But I mean, you know, TikTok is a very big competitor. And yeah, so there's some things that we're kind of ahead on, some things that we're behind on. I think that's the nature of the world. If you're behind on everything, that probably doesn't work. For the next computing platforms, I guess the way I thought about it was, I started the company in 2004. Like the smartphone, or the iPhone at least, came out in 2007. So, you know, we were still in the phase of just like existential, trying to survive and like kind of be a reasonable company at the time that all the smartphone stuff was getting done. So we obviously weren't going to play any role in defining that. And the smartphone overall, I think, has been, you know, it's been great in a bunch of ways. Now everyone has a computer in their pocket that they can bring with them all day long, and great for communicating, great for entertainment, great for utility. It's good. The thing that's complicated for us is like, we deliver our services through our competitors, right? So Apple and Google, probably, you know, two of our biggest competitors. It is awkward, right, to basically have the main kind of way that you distribute your service.
When you run into Tim and Sundar, is it awkward?
God, you know, I'm going to dodge the Apple thing again. You're really trying to drag me in here. Tim's had a bad week. I'm not going to pile on. No, but Sundar is cool. I like Sundar. But no, it's complicated, right? It's complicated. Delivering your services through competitors who are trying to compete with your thing. You know, so, you know, it's like if you're Apple, they like really want iMessage to win, and they don't, you know, it's like, you know, the more things that are cross-platform, the easier it is for people to switch from iPhones to Android phones, right? So it's like, all right, they can probably survive Spotify, but, you know, it's like, but like the more things that are like, iMessage is such a huge lock-in for them. So I think it's a big deal. So anyhow, going back to the main question though, I kind of was, so there are all these things over time that Google, but especially Apple, have just been like, you can't do these things that you think, that I think are good consumer things to do. And at some point we ran this calculation and we're like, all right, if we were able to do all the things that we thought were good, like between the additional engagement and usage of our apps and the random taxes and stuff, like I think we might be twice as profitable as a company or something as we are now. So it's, and obviously, like, I mean, I honestly get more offended by like the consumer things that we just think are good that they just block us from doing.
You just can't do the consumer.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, we really should try to play a role in shaping the next computing platform. And now we're not a company that has like built operating systems and computing platforms. So my general assumption is if we show up the same year as Apple or Google with Android, or you know, even Microsoft with Windows, you know, if they kind of built the same kind of AR glasses the same year, I kind of assume the tie goes to them, because they have a much kind of bigger kind of base of stuff built out. So my view is that we have to be better and earlier, and maybe that will mean that we need to invest a little bit, like a lot in advance of when the market is ready for prime time. But I mean, look, we're doing it. I think our VR products, I think, are better and 10 times cheaper than Apple's. Our AR stuff, the glasses, I mean, the things that I'm wearing now, it's like going really well. We're selling many millions of units and just going to keep on expanding into more styles, more functionality. We'll kind of add the holograms in. So yeah, no, I feel good about that. I think that this is going to be like, the glasses especially are going to be like the ultimate social platform, because holograms will deliver this like this feeling of presence, like you're there with another person, and that's something that like no screen today can deliver. So it's like in the future maybe I'll just like beam in as a hologram to this, and that'll be pretty cool. But between that and glasses being the ultimate device for AI, that can like see what you see and hear what you hear, I think this is one that is worth investing in 10 years ahead.
Okay, I want to ask about leadership. So Microsoft invested in Meta in 2007, that big strategic investment, and our mutual friend Charlie Songhurst was involved in that investment at the time, and he said that a big part of his investment thesis for why it made sense for Microsoft to invest in Meta was because you were able to beat the Civ AI on deity level difficulty, which is the top of the 8 difficulty levels. What do you think about this as an investment thesis in Meta?
Well, I mean, the Civ AI has always been famously bad. So I think it's beating all the other people that is actually more impressive than beating the deity mode. But I don't know. I think games. Yeah. I definitely. There's one theory on kind of hiring or investing in people, which is like being able to be excellent at one thing is sort of shows that someone has the discipline to be able to become excellent at something, right? So whether you're like a Olympian athlete or good at any one area, or like I think that level of achievement, it sort of requires basic level of dedication, a ability to basically learn new things and master things. And I think in general, people who can do that, it's kind of like the thinking on going to school, right? It's like, okay, maybe you learn some stuff in your courses, but really in theory, you're supposed to learn how to think and learn new things. And so I don't know, I didn't actually know that he wanted to invest because I was good at
I'm sure they told you
if I were picking like the things that like I might be good at, I wasn't going to think that like Civ is like that meaningful of one of them, but I'm glad to know that that's what got the deal done. It's like all those thousands of hours playing Civ are actually useful.
Exactly. Go back and tell your parents now. It's like I just want to correct the record about video games.
Yeah.
So last year we had Jensen Huang here, and he had a conversation with Patrick, and he described his management system, which, as you probably know, is somewhat singular. He has 60 direct reports. Doesn't do any one-on-ones, and it kind of goes from there. Do you have an unusual management system, like what would be in the Mark Zuckerberg management book? Where do you differ from the orthodoxy?
That's a good question. So, I don't have 60 direct reports. I don't even like managing people. So
that's different from the orthodoxy somewhat.
So actually, the way that we've set up the company is we have, there are a bunch of really great leaders who we have like 15 different product groups, everything from like Facebook to Instagram to our ad system to VR to the glasses to like all the different stuff. And I kind of think that the people who run those 15 groups or so are like the people who are running like the real things. And then, but I don't want to have 15 direct reports. And so we kind of have organized the company thematically where, all the apps report to Chris, and all the kind of cross-cutting services like the ads and the infra and the integrity systems and all that stuff report to Javi, and a lot of the like future tech platform stuff reports to Boz, and that's great. But I've also set up so I just like go to the people who so I mean, obviously those people are brilliant and I work with them super closely, but I also go like directly to the people who are running whatever the thing is that I care about. So we're very non-hierarchical in that way. I think of our management team is not really just my direct reports. It's sort of like this broader group of like 25 to 30 people who I try to include in everything.
So you don't have 60 direct reports. That would be crazy. However, there are 25 to 30 people to whom you go and direct report.
Probably more, but
with 60 direct reports.
No. Well, what's the point of having direct reports if you're not gonna like do one-on-ones? Well, I actually don't do one-on-ones with the people who report to me either. But it's somebody stop that sentence and cut that off. But why would you have 60 of them if you aren't gonna do direct? Like, I actually believe management is important, right? And like part of the reason why I don't
That's
have
for other people to do.
I think if you're gonna report to me, you need to be able to manage yourself. But I believe that for the rest of the company, management is kind of important, and it's like an important way that people grow. But for the team, I want to have sort of the largest group that I think can basically have context on every single thing that's happening across the company, and so that way they can go do as much as possible. And so that's why I have this group that I sort of ironically call small group, but it's 25 to 30 people, and that's like
the small group auditorium people
things, and that's and I invest a lot of time in making sure that there's a group that's very connected to each other and that have all the context on what's going on inside the company, and that's sort of the core army that can go get anything done across the company. But I guess the other thing that maybe is non-orthodoxy, and maybe a little pithier to explain, is I basically don't believe in delegation. I think that there's sort of this theory that a lot of people have, which is all right, the job of a leader is you hire people and you delegate things to them. My theory is there's so much going on across the company that I can't possibly get involved in all of it. So all these people are going to have a ton of stuff that they're going to do. But fundamentally, if there's a decision that I want to be involved with, I'm going to be involved in it. I don't believe in delegating. I think that that's generally a good way for founders to operate. I think it's if you're running the company and you're on the hook for everything, and there's something that's important at whatever level of detail in the organization, I don't get the logic of saying I'm not going to be involved in it. Now, you want to have humility and know that if you're diving into some decision, you may not have the most context immediately, but I generally think that you want to be able to just have the cultural expectation that things are not going to be so hierarchical and you're just going to dive into whatever you want.
Well, and so what is a week in the life of Mark where it's striking to me that you do often have a lot of context on these product things, but at the same time, you've been running the company for 21 years, you presumably don't have to do the things that you don't want to do, and so I'm curious how you organize your time to actually spend time on the things that you think is valuable for the company that you want to work on, and just so you have the context to be able to make these decisions.
Yeah, I guess I really try to minimize standing meetings. So I do two things weekly with this small group zone, right? There's an open-ended kind of strategy discussion, and then I go through I have an operational meeting where I basically go through company priorities, and that is it. Right, so the point of not having one-on-ones...
Sorry, the only recurring meetings you're in are these... Okay.
Yeah. I do organize these once a quarter, and okay. But we have a board
current
meeting.
calendar.
Which is a board meeting, stuff like that. But in general, no, I try to cut down on that. And when I say I don't have one-on-ones, I don't have recurring scheduled one-on-ones. I talk to all these people constantly, and more than they want to talk to me. I'm sure, but I do it when I have something that I want to talk to them about, or if they want to talk to me. I try to generally keep a bunch of time open, so that way stuff is pretty dynamic, and you wake up in the morning and you're okay, I need to work on these 3 things today. I want to make sure that I have a block of time where I can go do that. I get really frustrated and bad mood if my whole day is scheduled and there's a thing that I know is really important, and I don't get time to do it because I'm sitting in other things that are not the most important thing to be doing. It's you have too many days like that in a row and I just explode. So I think it's just you want to make sure that you keep a meaningful amount of your time, I think, open, so that way you can just go